Kevin, of course, we've been talking for years through your work with In Goal Magazine about goaltending in particular. We've talked with you about Connor Hellebuck for many years. As we do this interview today, he is on the verge of back-to-back Vezina trophies, a third, and absolutely is and should be a candidate for the Hart Trophy. Just your thoughts on the evolution of Connor and just how good is Connor Hellebuck right now in the National Hockey League with what he's doing for the Winnipeg Jets?
Well, he's exceptional, right? You run out of superlatives. He's leading the league he's leading the league in goals saved above expected. Now, here's the thing. There's two sides to this, right? And don't let the second one take away anything from what Hellebuck is doing. It's remarkable because I think the belief he instills in the team plays a role in this. But they are also defending at an elite level right now. Expected goals against off high danger chances, which is what matters the most at 5-on-5 and typically bodes most important come playoff time. They're second in the National Hockey League. High danger rush chances, 5-on-5. They're fourth in the National Hockey League against. D-zone, they're mid-pack, 15th, and PK, they're 18th, and that's where he had to do his best work. But those are the freebies, right? Like the expected goals against 5-on-5 is a big one. And then the freebies are when you're giving up stuff off the rush, and they're not doing either one of those. So when I look at ClearSight's numbers on the season for, totals for all the goalies, like him and Logan Thompson are actually neck and neck. So as much as the Vezina Trophy is Connor Hellebuck slam dunk, no arguments, because a lot of the raw numbers and because of the history, there are other goalies who are at least in the conversation in terms of what they're doing relative to their environment. They're being just as impactful right now, at least statistically. But what Helly's doing, like the shutouts, the numbers, the amount he's playing, like Logan Thompson's right there from a goal save perspective in fewer games. So you can argue, and the numbers show it on a per shot basis, he's actually been a little better. But to do it as often as Hellebuck is doing it, the ability to play as often as he is and retain that level of consistency. Like we just don't see that. And you've heard me talk in the past about some of the underlying numbers on different types of plays, what's happened in the playoffs in the past. I think he's so good at so many things that anything that he's average at becomes a relative weakness. And so you've seen in the playoffs, teams have tried to expose him east-west, side-to-side, lateral plays, slot line plays, as ClearSight calls them. To me, one of the most promising things about his year this season is he's actually near the top of the league in those numbers. And that's not normally the case. He's already 6 goals above expected on slot line plays alone. Screens is the only thing where he's even close to league average. Everything else is off the charts. So to me, it's the brilliance he brings on an annual basis, but also the desire to continue improving, right? So he's always looking to get better. And, we had a deep dive on this at NHL.com and at In Goal as well. Like what goes into this? And it's kind of, to me, it's his attitude, it's his brain, the way he processes. I've heard other people talk about the way he reads and anticipates the game is at an otherworldly level. I used it in the article I wrote. Dominik Hasek, they used to say, had the brain like a computer and the body like a slinky, and that's how he played goal. Helly clearly has the brain like a computer, and he's computing things at levels that nobody else is doing in the league right now. Like his ability to read and anticipate plays is just otherworldly. I've talked to Comrie about it. I've talked to Flaherty about it. We've done that video with Hellebuck where he does pro reads with InGoalMag.com. So the goalies sit down and do video with us and review how they see plays. And we did that with Connor last summer. And I'm telling you, like, odd man rushes are coming over the blue line. And he's not only telling you if the guy's shooting or passing, he's telling you where he's shooting. Like, it's unreal. Like, I know he's shooting here based on this. And, hand position, hip position, where he's looking, how his feet are. It's unbelievable. And Flats has told me the same thing when they're in their video sessions. Like, there are times where he'll be like, hey, you're like a little deep. This is one of the quotes I use. Hey, I'll be like, hey, why are you so deep here? And Flats has played and coached a long time in the league. And he's like thinking, hey, you're a little deep here. And Connor's like, no, see this over here? Like, I think this is going here next. And that's why and he's just, They used to say Hasek like a chessboard. He was one step ahead of the opponents, and I kind of think Helly's hit that point in the league right now. So absolutely slam dunk. It's going to take, Mackenzie Blackwood getting on the heater of all heaters in the second half behind a similarly great defensive team for anyone to have a chance to catch Helly in the Vezina Trophy race. And it's fun to watch. Hey, big and boring is still fun in goalie world.
No one's complaining here in the peg. I will tell you that, Kevin. Listen, your analysis of the position is on a whole nother level from most people in the media. So I'll ask you this. You've watched Connor Hellebuyck, and he's famously devoted. I mean, the guy works on everything to be better, and we've seen it before. Like from a casual fan's version, maybe the best example of is his puck handling. I mean, 4 or 5 years ago, Helly with the puck, it was like a hand grenade with the pin pulled. And everyone was, just sort of nervous. We joked about the Paul Maurice shock collar for him when he went out. Well, that completely changed over a couple years. That's just one aspect of it. As far as the overall position, when you look at Hellebuyck today as opposed to 4, 5, 6 years ago, where has he improved the most? And what can other goalies learn from the evolution of Connor Hellebuyck?
Oh, it's a really good question. I love the puck handling example as well, because you don't need to be Marty Brodeur, but you got to get out of your net and set up your guys, right? Like you got to be able to stop it and set it up and make simple short plays. You don't need to be Mike Smith chucking it up the ice or Marty Brodeur leading breakaways, and that's a great example. It's interesting, like how much of the reads is just experience. It was a question that we had as part of the conversations about that story, because you see the work technically, you see the work physically that he's done with Adam Francilia, and you see how that, lends itself to his game. You're starting to see other goalies reach out to Adam, and then you start to see elements of Helly in their game. Watch Andrei Vasilevsky, and at times the way he's narrowed his stance and some of his movements, and those things are all intertwined. The way he keeps it simple, and I honestly don't, and talking to people around him, they don't have the answer, like how much of it is just the experience, so the reads have hit another level. He just knows what's coming. But then the faith in all the work he does. And I know it frustrated people to hear him say after the playoffs last year that he felt like he was in a good spot, that his game was fine. But the faith that the work he does will translate on the ice is so important, right? Like that belief that all these things he does, the work off the ice, the work on the ice, the work, like that it's all going to translate. You have to have a belief in it. And so it's really hard to sort of come up with a tangible for you, because technically I don't know that it's changed that much. Like there are elements for sure that have changed. He's got this little thing he's doing, like a little half RVH to sort of preload into the post on net drives that I saw last night that I had an eye out for. That's not just new to him in the last couple of years, but that's something that might, again, you might see other goalies copying that. So there is this constant work ethic, this constant evolution of him as a goaltender, but I don't think it's radical. Like he hasn't had to reinvent the wheel in his game so much as just reaffirm his belief in his game year after year, and that this is going to work. And yet there are elements of it that other people are trying to increasingly mimic and imitate, big and boring. So, yeah, it's kind of I don't know that I have a firm, absolute, this is what's changed answer. It's just the kind of constant evolution. A lot of it may be just the experience that allows him to read the game at this level. I will say that talking to some people close to him, that way that he approaches it, and I know his dad had that story about looking at sticks and stick blades when he was really young, because if I can figure this out, and that goes back to the reads. If I can figure this out, I know where they're going to shoot. And he does that at a level no one else is doing it. But there's a technician element to it that is a part of, evidently, of everything he does, including fishing. Like, evidently it's not fun. Like, it's a getaway, but it's, he's not a fun fisherman. He goes out and everything is very technical. But that mindset, and this is what makes him so unique, like that mindset, it kind of fuels his game too. Like it's part of everything he does. And so Flats will talk about him, getting some time away from the rink and not at the rink, and then bringing back, and he knows that he's in that, like he doesn't lose that mindset. And so again, I think it all comes back to, and maybe this is why I'm struggling to come up with a firm answer for you, Because as much as we appreciate the physical work he's done, as much as we appreciate the technical efficiency that he brings to the game, again, like the Hasek comparison, the thing that truly separates him may be his mind and his approach.